Welcome to the Brisbane HubSpot User Group. My name is Trav and I'm here today with Brie Ginman, one of the HubSpot strategists here at Neighbourhood, to talk all about things that we've found out through our 10 years of using HubSpot that you can use, and they're going to be hacked, things that you might be aware of and things that you might not be aware of. But these, we kind of, when we were sort of going around the table and trying to figure out what the topic was going to be specifically, and I know everybody in our agency has the little thing that they find out or the little thing that they use to sort of save time. So I thought it would be quite fitting for us to probably go through 12 of the ones, and we've also probably got a little secret 13th one there as well. But like just hacks that we've picked up along the way that you might not be aware of. There are some here that I think that are crucial to having a really clean HubSpot account, and also from a data quality, but also these will also save you money. I think that there's aspects of this that just from a high level, they can automatically move marketing contact to non-marketing contact. Again, it's a pretty simple one, but there's a lot of people out there that we go into the accounts and there's just rampant of non-marketing and marketing contacts that are unsubscribed and bounced. I've got Brie here today mainly because Brie, you've been working inside HubSpot for...
I think it's 6-7 years now.
There
Let's
you go.
say 6 years
Don't get
to be safe.
Don't get the years wrong.
Yeah, how dare
trouble.
I?
But basically, I think Brie has been using it for quite a long period of time, as well as I have, and then so we've seen the evolution of HubSpot as it goes through. Also, the added complexities as well. Yes. So I think this will be a fairly candid conversation around each of the hacks as well, and we might even, if I can think of anything on the spot as well.
Throw it in there.
Before we get started, just if you are watching this as a recording, down the bottom here you'll see the scrubber. I think it's called a scrubber. We can scrub. We've actually put this into chapters. So if you are pressed for time and you don't like to listen to me waffle, there is the chapters there. Also, if you click on the description down there, there's like hyperlinks that you can just automatically skip to as well. So that'll help you get to find the thing that you need to. So before we get started, I wanted to sort of talk about the next hug just so that you're aware of it. Again, if you're watching live, it's in the chat, but also it's also in the description below if you're watching the recording. 19th of June at 10 a.m, I'm joined by Geordie Roberts. This one is all for sales. And I think every time we do a sales hug, it always pops. So
Absolutely.
I think the big part here is mastering, prospecting, and close more deals with HubSpot. So HubSpot has got a whole bunch of new tools that, including AI, that have really sort of started to develop as time goes through. But what we want to try and do is for those that are doing prospecting, SDR side sort of things, this is a really, and if your business or organization has gone from bringing on an SDR or somebody to look for prospecting and calling, etc. I think this is a really great call, a really great sort of hug as well to be a part of. So again, click on it. If you can't make it, we'll send you the recording, but it would be a really good one for sales teams for sure.
So the sales ones are always great.
Yeah.
And Geordie's got his head locked on when it comes to that stuff. So
yeah.
It'll be a good one.
100%. Brie, I think we could probably start with probably what I just mentioned before in regards to the non-marketing marketing contacts. Again, for those that are seasoned pros, and even for those that are as well, and you might not know this, talking about sort of unsubscribe, bounce, non-marketing contacts as well. I think naturally, manually, you kind of have to go to accounts and billing and then go to usage and then go and click the button on sort of
there's a tab, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it'll show you the how much you've
We'll
used.
put it up on the screen
now.
But basically, there's a manual way of doing it, and the thing is that it kind of sucks if it gets out of control. It sucks.
It does. The amount of emails I get from customers being like, "We're about to run out of marketing contacts. Can you quickly go through them?" It happens all the time, and it's not. The reason we make these mistakes or we don't automate it is because it just comes up so quickly and we don't realize we need to manage that type of stuff as well. So this first hack basically automates that entire piece for you because you can go in and create a list of those types of people and manually set them as non-marketing contacts. But at the end of the day, it'd be so much easier just to automate it, right?
Well, I think the thing to state, so when we sort of say bounce as unsubscribed, unsubscribed are people that have unsubscribed from your mailing list. Marketing contacts are people that you market to specifically, so there's no need to have them as a marketing contact.
Exactly.
Bounced means that the email address doesn't work anymore. So these two different types of contacts with a communication style from an email perspective, you can't email them. So this makes sense to have this. And
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not set up.
It should just be a thing, but
It should be there. It should be just turn this on.
yeah.
There might be certain scenarios in which that doesn't need to happen or people don't want to do it, but most cases.
I mean, you can't market to them anyway.
That's
It's
right.
a no-go. So,
Especially bounce.
yeah, interesting.
Anyway.
But this one saves you money at the end of the day. Marketing contacts in HubSpot cost you money. That's it. So I've got a bit of an example workflow up on here. In terms of the triggers and how you're going to trigger this workflow, we've got two things set up. Basically, any contact that's unsubscribed from your emails is equal to true. So anyone who doesn't want to receive your emails, you don't need them. And then email hard bounce reason is known. So basically all that's saying is HubSpot has realized there's a hard bounce and that's known. So that's the triggers we're doing. Now, in the actions, this has changed a couple of times. It used to be a property called marketing status and now it's its own action. So just if you've been using HubSpot for a little while, I feel like this has changed a couple of times. But you're going to go into marketing, set marketing contact status, and set it to non-marketing. One thing I will say with this, you can also do it the other way around. So if they've decided to come back into your marketing, if they've subscribed again, you could do it the other way around where you're setting them as a marketing contact as well. So
In a
two
workflow,
options
yeah.
there. Yeah,
I think always do that best practice. Is
Yeah.
always set as marketing contact.
the two ones.
Regardless, because if they're already marketing contact, doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. But that's that one. Really simple. You turn it on and then it's going to run in the background. Probably would recommend maybe adding it to a static list as well, so you have a list of all your non-marketing contacts as well, in case anything ever happens or you need to do something with those contacts.
Yeah. And just remember, you can pause and rewatch this as well, so you can build it yourself.
Yes.
Party on.
Party on.
All right, so the next one here is clean up email data. Now, I will say the one that we've got here, do we need OpsHub for this one?
You do need OpsHub, yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to be...
Like, definitely don't get a trial and use this if you need to use it for a short period of time.
No, just...
That is a hack. That's
the real hack.
That's a hack I use.
That's the real
Don't
hack.
get a trial for 14 days and use this code.
No, you don't need to do that. But yeah, we will be formatting, we'll be using some code to basically format the data a little bit. So you do need OpsHub to be able to change that data up. But I'm sure everyone here has had their database full of things like gmail.com or Outlook with like 4 zeros or something. People make typos. It's a normal thing. So before you even jump into this one, I'd probably recommend going through your HubSpot and just seeing what are some common mistakes that your users make as well.
Potentially you could do like a list to say contains the word Gmail.
Exactly. See what people are doing.
Or it's sort of like the I and the A could get mixed around too. Mm-hmm. So just like that sort of stuff.
Have a play. See what you can pretend you're typing really fast and see what comes out maybe. But you want to look for those common typos. So really what this hack is doing is taking those typos and changing them into the correct thing. One thing I will note, this one does have a bit of code. We do have this HubSpot hack actually on our website. So if you want to copy and paste that code, it is on there as well, so you can find it. So in terms of the enrollment for this, there'll probably be a couple of typos. I would keep it simple and just keep one workflow for one typo, because you need to do different code depending on the typo. So like .con versus .com would be one that you're updating as well.
You could do an if-then branch.
You could do branch it out. It depends how you like to run your workflows, I think. Yeah. So what we're going to do is a .con versus .com. I'm saying con like C-O-N, by the way, if that wasn't clear. Okay, and I'm just gonna say a contact's email contains .con. Silly little typo, something we can fix.
And hopefully there's 1,000 so you don't have to manually do it.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
So you can use automation.
That'd be fantastic. Okay, we are going to use the format data in the data ops piece here. Just reminder, you can only get this with Operations Hub. And then you're going to use the custom mode piece in here. So custom mode basically allows you to write your own code where you need to. I'm going to copy and paste the code into here. Now, a couple of things to highlight. This .con down the bottom here, this is basically what people are doing wrong. And then the .com is what people are doing right. So if you're doing a Gmail one, for example, you would replace the .con with the typo from Gmail and the .com with the correct one. Where everything is red, that's where all our properties need to go. So we're going to replace all these properties with the email property. So HubSpot knows where to look when it's changing all this stuff. So I'm just going to quickly do that, and then we can get into the rest of it. And if you're changing something other than an email, you can kind of use this for everything. But for this hack, we're focusing on emails. But you can use this for other things and other data as well if you're trying to clean it up. Now, I'm going to say yes, save that into a property because we're going to basically resave it into the email property. So we'll do save and continue. And it's going to automatically add a record edit action into here. We're going to type email. And that's basically going to overwrite what we've just done. Now, we need to put the value in here. The value is basically what we just did. So if you go up to the top here, then click action output, you'll find the string and value. That's basically what it just popped out as. Click save, and you're all done. Bob's your uncle.
There you go. And then so you can have that running consistently as well in the back end. So
Absolutely.
if you've got OpsHub Pro like consistently, that could just be going ahead and cleaning data like of a whole bunch of different types as well.
And this is, this is one of the more complicated ones because we're using things like code to make it do different stuff. But I do want to flag as well, OpsHub has some great built-in data cleaners as well that will look at things like if it has QLD, change it to Queensland.
Do you want to quickly go to where you can find that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we go to data management here and then data quality, I love the data quality piece. It's fantastic here. If you go to formatting issues, there's also a couple of other ones. Formatting issues, we've got manage duplicates as well and missing data. But you can see up here it says 7 automation rules on. If you don't have that set up yet, it would say you don't have any automation set up yet. So you can actually click that and it will give you a couple of rules that you can turn on. So capitalizing first and last names, making emails lowercase, for example, removing a last name from the first name field. That happens a lot where people put first name and last name into the same property. And also spacing and punctuation as well throughout it. So it really just is a quick way to clean up your data.
I think if like some people put their first name and just like a letter for their last name,
that's a classic.
It would sort of suggest that just remove the letter at the last name because it doesn't make sense. I think what the most important thing for me is just making sure the first name is formatted and it's correct. So if they are putting the first and last name in that first name field, if you are using personalization tokens, then like it looks amateur.
It does. It looks
also,
messy.
if somebody like caps locks it as well, it'll come over like that. It looks unformatted. So this would fix a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I know personally, I write everything in lowercase when I'm filling out forms. It's silly, but I just do it. And then I get an automated email. I'm like, I guess that's me. That's my fault.
Cool. All right. That's a good one. Thanks, Brie. The next one that we've got here is sort of reverting, fixing up what you might have done using automation.
Yeah, we've all been there. You can't say you haven't been there if you've used automation on any platform, really. What this hack looks at specifically is when a workflow changes a bunch of properties. So let's say you've just put together a workflow, you're about to turn it on, or you do turn it on, and all of a sudden you've enrolled all these people you didn't mean to, and now let's say their job title is all marketing manager. And they are not all marketing managers. You need to go back somehow. And there is not an undo button, unfortunately. There is however, a pretty easy way to fix this. Now, I'm going to kind of use the job title one as an example, except I've used a degree kind of thing as an example. What you'll want to do, let's use that. I've created a workflow and accidentally set everyone's degree to marketing when they're not in marketing. You're going to go into your property settings. You're going to find the property that you just changed and you're going to go to more and click export. What this is going to do is export all the historical changes that you have made in the past 30 days, I believe, which is really useful because if you screwed up, you can see the historical values as well. That is not to say, quickly as well, you can go into a property and see the historical values, but if it's the wrong value, it's not helpful at all. So it pops out a little bit like this. So you can see the current value in column C. You can see when the change was made and you can see the previous value. So what you're going to want to...
Does it just do the previous one?
It will go down, like if there was another change, it would go to the next state before that. So you're getting a full historical view. So if it's been a couple of changes, you would be able to go back even further.
Yep.
So at this point, what you're going to want to do is A, find the date you made the change, and B, find the previous value that you want. So you are going to have to do a bit of work on the Excel sheet here. Basically,
small price to pay for having to screw up the work.
Yeah, exactly. What you'll want at the end of the day is the record ID column. This one is really important. It basically tells HubSpot, hey, this value belongs to this contact. If you don't have the record ID, it's not going to know where to put it. So that one's really important. Don't necessarily need the email because we have the record ID, so that's great. You don't need the current value because you're getting rid of that. You don't want it, but you do want the previous value.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, so what I would do is remove anything you don't need to put back into HubSpot. So basically where we're going with this is we're going to be re-importing it and giving it the new value, which technically was the previous correct value. So
this smells like a Sophie one too.
It smells like a Sophie one. So I'm literally just going to delete the things I don't want. All I'm left with is the previous value that I want it to be now and the relevant record ID to tell HubSpot where to put it. You are going to save that as a CSV.
Nice.
We love a CSV. Now, if I go here, if you haven't done an import before, it is really quite simple.
It's a lot better than it used to be.
Oh, it used to be a whole thing. I personally just go up.
It used to be an error and you had to figure out what the error was without it telling you what it was.
Yeah, now you can export the errors.
Then you'd have to export the error out of the CSV and then individually go to the line.
Go through each one.
I remember that.
Whew. I personally just go to search HubSpot and then I search import and export. That's how I find the page every single time.
It's on the contact page and it's on the next to
I know. It's just, I think it's one of those things. I've been doing HubSpot for 6 years. That's how I do it.
Global search has changed, like everything's in there.
Yeah. So I just go import from files, and what we're basically doing is updating this list of contacts that have gone through a workflow that kind of screwed up a little bit. So I'll quickly run through an import, but if you need help with imports, please reach out to us. We've done many an import before.
Oh, yeah.
This one's quite simple. They can get a bit complex. So we're putting these back into contacts, so that's why I'm clicking that object there. You're going to drag your little CSV that you just downloaded before, and you want to just update existing contacts only. I'd avoid doing create and update because we don't want to, if something goes wrong, you don't want these extra ones creating more dirty data. It really shouldn't.
Yeah, it shouldn't.
But I do it just to be safe. Click next. It's going to take you to a mapping page. It's going to ask you, hey, where is the record ID? How am I matching this to someone? And where am I putting this previous value? We're putting it in the degree. And we click next, and it's going to fix everything for me. Import name is really important. I like to put a date on it, so if someone is like, who made this change? They can see, oh yeah, okay, Brie made this change because of this reason. And then let's click finish import. And that's going to fix everything for us. So just to break that down again, because there's a couple of steps, what we've done is found the property that was mistakenly updated. We've then exported all that data. We've then found what the previous value was and re-imported it with the correct data.
Nice.
It's a good one. It definitely smells like a Sophie hack.
Yes, and I think that you'll have to individually do that for anything that's changed too. So that's
Correct.
one property of an object.
Yes.
So
If you've changed 4, you'd have to do that 4 times for each different property.
wouldn't it be wild if HubSpot gave you the ability to undo, which would just The thing is, workflows can get really complex to a point that maybe in some instances you can't revert back.
Yeah.
Because of some of the actions. Yes.
Depends.
I mean, they've had a discussion like over in Boston. There's been a discussion.
There's been a discussion for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, this one I really, really, really like, mainly because it can be tough to sort of like really get clear on this specifically at the end of a sales process. But here we want to simplify contract end date calculations with HubSpot too. So calculated properties, for those that are playing at home, is that it can be a property and we can take one property and another property. Now we used to be able to plus, minus, subtract and times back in the day.
I think that was it. Maybe a divide. Do we do that one?
Yeah, plus, minus, You do the 4 things.
The basics.
You can do. Now you can if you're very good at Excel, you can just do that.
Exactly.
It's Excel, but basically, so you can take properties and you can multiply it, divide it by this, and take it by that, square root of that, and all this sort of stuff.
Too complicated for me, but it's amazing.
It's the most powerful, it's one of the most powerful little things. And I think for pro users, you get 10. For enterprise, you get 20 or something along those lines.
I think enterprise actually might be 40.
Okay.
And 20, yeah.
But it is the unsung hero of a really powerful tool that is kind of, I think, not a lot of people know about as well.
Yeah.
But utilizing, I guess, the end date calculations, do you want to talk to us a little bit about this little hack?
Yeah. Of course.
Yes.
I'm so glad you brought me along for this.
Yeah.
I actually came across this with a customer I worked with about 1.5 years ago, let's say. And basically, you have your contract start date when everything gets started. You know it's going to last X amount of days, but then you have to somehow work out in your head, okay, when does that actually end? You might use Google, you might use ChatGPT, and then you have to enter that end date. This just saves that kind of extra step you have to take.
So essentially, the property will always update to the amount of days or weeks or months or whatever?
So you are basically putting in the delivery term. You know that this contract's going to last 120 days. We know it starts on June the 1st, let's say, and then this calculated property, the contract end date, is going to tell you exactly when that contract ends. You can then set up things like a notification or something, being like, okay, it ends on this date, let's start wrapping things up. So I've already set up in HubSpot a delivery term.
Got you.
Yeah.
So I got you. So you're going to enter in the amount of days and the end date and the start date, and it should automatically give you the date of when it's going to finish.
Exactly.
But a lot of this sort of stuff too is you could
do it the other way as well.
Do it the other way.
Yep.
We could rejig it around to say, hey, if the end date is known and we want to know when to start.
Exactly. You could do it so many ways.
Or we've got the start and end date and we want to work out how many days are left till the end. So,
exactly.
If you get into trouble with this, just comment or reach out to us. But you can kind of see when we step through this that you can kind of rejig this. If you were good at Excel in any way, shape or form, you should be pretty good with this. But again, we're here to help out.
I think the calculation property scares some people away because they see it and they're like, but a lot of people who work in offices honestly know how to use Excel. So if you've used Excel, you can definitely do this. Nothing to be scared of.
If we try to contextualize it, so like a cell would be a property.
Yeah.
And then we're kind of bringing in, so like, sometimes for really quite easy, you'd kind of go sum equals in brackets this and this times this in brackets to give you the final. Essentially what the cells are that you're like clicking on. In this instance, we're just using properties.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure it's obviously relevant. You can't times a number by a word. So it's obviously got to be relevant within the properties too.
Exactly, yeah. And also because we're doing it in days, the what we're timesing it by is a very specific number. You can modify this number depending on if you want it in months or years or whatever that actually looks like. So this is completely, customizable. Yeah. Yeah, create beautiful things.
I just want to say before you get started too, so we kicked off doing this stuff back in the day, I sound like an old dog now, but like back in the day when sort of like people would come up with like certain scenarios and then we'd hear on the grapevine in the partner network that would be like, oh, this guy's done this, awesome. And then it kind of starts sparking ideas. ChatGPT, anything that you've got, like you can bring this in for the solution that you need. If we're talking specifically around calculated properties, or if we go back to the last one that we did really around the coded workflows or formatting data, like if you've got OpsHub Pro, like ChatGPT's just enhanced that so much so that you can basically ask it a question, get it to reference the documentation inside HubSpot, and it will provide you with the code. But I think with ChatGPT, you'll be able to go through, and if you do get stuck with this, tell it this is what I'm trying to achieve, and if it's not working, be able to sort of get that output.
Yeah.
Not cutting myself out of a job here, but essentially you can
so
do that
helpful.
too. Yeah, we
helpful.
use it as well sometimes when we get stuck.
Especially if it's buggy and you're like, why is this not working? And then chat will be like, this is why you were wrong. And you're like, oh, all right. Okay, so basically I have created a new property here. I've called it contract end date. If you go field type, you are now going to find one called calculation. And we're going to use a custom equation for this. It's going to pop out as a date. So you can use the output type as date. That's what we want. You don't want to click number, you want to click date. Now, this is where you do all your little coding stuff.
Here we go.
You can basically insert properties that you already have in HubSpot. That's what we were saying before. So similar to how you would do a formula in Excel where you go equals cell A2, you're basically doing the same thing except you're choosing a property. So I'm just going to copy and paste my little formula here. So I've got contract start date. So that's when we start. And then we want to plus the days of how long it's basically going to take us. So that is our delivery terms in days, I've called it. I put in days just so I remember. This is actually, this is more of a tip than a hack. When you're labeling your properties, put things like in days, in weeks, stuff like that. So people, if you leave, people know what it is.
Yes.
Naming properties is so important. I'm a big believer in that.
Makes sense to you.
Yeah. Plus delivery term in days, and then we're timesing by, it's technically the amount of milliseconds in a day, which sounds crazy, but there we go. Okay.
I ran into that same issue with doing, way back in the day, Zapier with Google Calendar, and everything's measured in milliseconds, which makes sense.
Yeah, especially because these days with HubSpot as well, they're doing now time stuff. So you could be like, oh, this has been sitting in this stage for 15 days, and they count that with milliseconds.
Yeah.
So
Actually, no, come to think of it, the Google Calendar thing was the amount of days or the amount of hours since 1970. It was crazy. Anyway, I digress.
That's crazy. Now, when you're setting up a formula like this, it actually has a sample output, which I think is such a good addition because you can quickly test if this thing is working. So for example, let's say our contract starts today. I want it over in 120 days. Test formula spits out the date for us.
Nice.
Bam. Now you could use the contract end date as a trigger in a workflow and be like, hey, we can see that your contract is up in a month. How about let's have a chat, like see if we can restart this.
Yep.
And then you can just go into your renewal process, really.
That's awesome.
So that's a good one. Like that one.
Yeah, that could also work for internal as well if you're utilizing days till or whatnot. I mean, you could use a workflow to notify days till the date anyway. But yeah, feel free to sort of customize that workflow just to...
Definitely.
Not workflow, calculations, so that it sort of fits what you need as well.
Yep.
This next one was on our email list. I think it was last. It was pretty much, I think, the most clicked hack for that month for sure. It was get notified when a quote is opened.
Yeah, nice one.
Funny enough, I can get a notification when something, obviously using the Sales Engage platform, is that you can understand when something is clicked and you can get notifications. I have muted that, by the way. But like, you can notify when that stuff's happening, but you don't know when something from a quote perspective is getting opened essentially.
Yeah.
Like this morning, we sent a quote to somebody, and I kind of said, "Oh, we kind of need to know by this time." And I found myself going into the email and seeing if the person had clicked it.
Yep.
But because it was sent to heaps of people, I kind of didn't know whether it was an internal person or if it was them. So I guess for me, let's do this one for us after we finish this one as well. But like, we can get notified when a quote's opened.
It's fantastic. I don't think quote and invoice automation is used enough because we always go to our little contact deal ticket. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what we're used to using. That also goes to feedback surveys as well. You can use answers like that for automation as well. So just shout out to trying different objects when you're automating things. See what you can do. But that gets me started with this workflow
Try different
here.
things.
Try new things, guys. 2025. You got this. So when you're setting up this workflow, just make sure you click the object quote, because all of us are very used to clicking just context deals. If you notice it's not working, that's why. You need to make sure it's off the quote. Okay, so for this one, you are going to want to make sure that the object you choose to set up this workflow is the quote, because we are going to be doing it triggering this based on the last activity date. With that said, when we're talking about activity date, we're talking about the activity of the quote and maybe not the person themselves. So you're going to get a notification if someone or something has happened to that quote. You may not get all the gritty information about who's opening it. So if you've sent this out to like 10 people in a team, it might be one of those 10 people.
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind when you're setting this up. It's based on the object quote and not the object of the contact itself. You're going to add an action, really simple action here. All we're going to do is just send an internal email notification to your salesperson, to whoever needs to know about this. You could go even further, set up a Slack notification even.
Yeah.
You were shaking your head at me.
No, I was listening.
You could set up a Slack notification if you wanted to as well. All you're really doing is just making sure the people who need to know this stuff get that notification. Because what that is going to do is, for example, if Trav got that email, he's like, people are looking at this. Maybe this is the perfect time to follow them up if it's been a couple of days, for example.
100%.
So it's a good one for a timely reconnection, let's call it.
Yeah. Especially if there's, question is, will this still trigger if the quote is expired?
Oh, that's a great question. You're cheeky.
Because if it did...
That would be really interesting, actually. Why are you opening this after it's expired as well?
I mean, that for me would be like, get on top of them, because if I've had a quote and the person's pieced out 12 months ago and is trying to open up a quote again, there's potentially an opportunity.
Look, if I think about it, HubSpot's are always collecting data. So even if it's expired, even if a contact has been away for a while, there's still going to be activity on there if they've opened the website again or submitted a new form. So I don't see why a expired quote wouldn't be collecting that information if it's opened again.
Yeah. Is it possible to do the contact for a quote? So you could do a contact workflow with an associated quote.
Ooh.
And then you could identify.
Ooh.
But in that one, you would have to have, that person has to have cookie data.
Yep.
So it has to submit a form. But you could have a contact workflow that would trigger for a Slack notification.
Yes.
Once an associated quote.
But, okay, so if we've got your associated object...
We have not planned this.
We haven't planned this. Associated object is quote and the activity. But is that that will be off any quote they open, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because we want to see all of it. Last activity date is equal... I mean, yeah, it's working so far. See, this is how you do HubSpot. You go, cool, working so far.
It's almost in a scenario.
Yeah, and then you got your internal communicator, Slack, all that jazz. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome.
Then you can see the person, see what they're doing.
I will say that person has to have submitted a form for the cookie data to attribute them to that that behavior. Doesn't work if a link is set in an email with 10 people.
Yep.
But in saying that, that person specifically will be identified if if one of the 10 people click, you'll still be able to see that one person that's clicked
Has
on
done something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
There's not a lot of analytics around quotes and
Not
stuff.
enough. Not
No.
enough. Every day or every week, actually, let's maybe not say day, that's a bit too far. Every week, I feel like we have a new thing in our general channel of someone saying, hey, there's this new quote functionality or invoice functionality. So I do think they're climbing the stairs just like really slowly, because all the other functionality is around sales deals at the moment is a massive thing for them. Help desk, service, and not so much the commerce side of things. We'll see what happens.
All right, I'm going to give you a scenario. You're working 30 deals or 40 deals.
Sure.
And I actually stumbled across some of your work that you did for another client, and I
Copied it, basically.
well, a little bit, yeah. But so basically, it's utilizing tags. And now, obviously, for those that don't know what tags are, so basically we can have colored tags pop up on a deal board based when it meets certain criteria.
Mm-hmm.
You've put one here, but I think that there's a couple of scenarios that we can kind of use, and we might use our own deal board as an example for this one. But my favorite one, and I won't say how to do it, but like is the one that's like engaged today. What did you call it?
Yeah, I call it different things depending. Sometimes I'll say has been online today, or like hot deal, or there's a couple of different ones I'll use. Kind of depends on the customer. If they're, a bit more serious, I'll make it a bit more of a serious term. But I love saying is online right now, or something silly like that.
For us, you put engaged today.
Engaged today. Cool.
It's like, for me, it's good to know. I can look at my deal board and there's red ones that say engaged today. Engaged today. And I'm like, okay, these guys are, what does engaged mean? Does that mean...
So for me, engaged, it depends, right? And this may differ for you. You might hear this and be like, no, that's not correct for us. You can do whatever you want. That's the best thing about these filters. Engaged today to me means that they've engaged with your website, they've engaged with an email, whether that's a one-to-one email or a marketing email. It basically means any action they have done that means they are online and looking at Neighborhood. Yeah. They're interested in you.
Or your client,
They love you.
It's good because I think before you go into a meeting, you can kind of just straight off and just see if they've been engaging with your brand, which is really good. But
and you can go into the record and see, Amanda has been on your website today, they've clicked on that, but you have to go into the record and you're like, okay, they did this, this, and this. This gives you really quickly, they've been engaged today, they're there.
So did you want to talk about the hot...
I'll show you where...
Hot deal?
Where these all live,
Hot deal?
Here.
Hot leads.
Hot leads, that's a classic. So where these all live is you're going to go into your settings, the deals object, and then if you go to pipelines, there's a tab called deal tags. And then you need to go to manage deal tags. So you can see we've got some pretty awesome ones here. Trav's done some cool HubSpot referral, little things like that. That's cool.
Thank you.
Paid lead, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so for me, engaged today is basically the same as hot deal. For me, it's just a different way of saying it. But you could separate those out in the sense that engaged today means they've been online, they're looking at your stuff, whereas hot deal may be like they've replied to your email, they've maybe opened a quote, they've opened something to do specifically with sales, and you want to get on that ASAP, basically. Now, how deal tags work, if I go to editing this engaged today one, you get a pretty color. Definitely recommend using emojis because it allows you to visually, and this is just a science and brain thing, it's not just for fun, it allows you to quickly visualize this person has done that thing. And then you can, if you want to, break it down into different pipelines. So you can do them for all your pipelines, or let's say Trav has a specific one just for Trav's pipelines. He wants these specific deal tags. The next thing is your filters. This is if you have built a list before, if you have done a workflow before, if you have used filters in any way on HubSpot, you will be absolutely fine doing this. Before jumping into your deal tag, think about what does this mean? Who are the people I want to see with this deal tag? For this one, all it is their last engagement date was a day ago. Simple, easy. You could also make that 3 days ago if engagement for you is maybe a bit of a longer period of time. So you could extend that as well. You click review tag and you save it. So that's a good one. Engage today. Simply have they engaged in the last 1 day. The opposite of that, one I really like, is stale deals. I saw this
with the
as
bread emoji.
Yes, I thought that was really funny. I saw this. Someone else had done this one. I think it's actually a HubSpot recommended one.
Yeah, preset.
But for this one, it's create day was more than 60 days ago, and they have not engaged. You have not engaged. They're just kind of dead in the water a little bit. And you could do two things with that. You could re-engage them, or you could put them into your back burner or your closed lost. So really what we're doing here is visualizing certain activities and actions our customers or hopeful customers are taking. The last example I want to give is activity due. I have implemented this in quite a few HubSpot portals now, specifically when I'm doing sales processes. We love to get sales teams to use tasks because it guides them on what they need to do, making sure they don't miss any steps. What this activity due one does is basically looks at a deal and it says, are there any tasks that need to be done here? Yes, there is. Okay, put that tag on there. So you can just look at your deal board and be like, 1, 2, 3, I have tasks to do for those 3. And then your day's sorted for the next, let's say, hour or something like that. You're just focusing on those deal tags. So I'm a deal tag lover. I think they're fantastic.
I think when you get like a little bit overrun with like the level of tasks and notifications, I think like a simplistic tag can kind of just give you enough information to go and explore the thing you meant to do, or you know, if somebody hasn't responded and it's starting to show that they're active, to be able to sort of engage in that. But I think it says a lot without saying a lot. So the next one we've got is which is very, 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 very cool. And I actually got asked this morning in one of my sales calls as well, is adding a dynamic meeting link to marketing emails. It's a kind of one that sort of would change based on contact ownership.
Yes. Yeah. So this has happened to me before. I think it's probably happened to everyone out in the office right now. You go to, you want to have your meeting link in an automated email and you're like, yeah, for sure. Using that personalized token will just change it depending on who the owner is, right? Wrong. It does not do that. It will just put in the meeting link of the sender of that email. So what this basically does is sets a property of a meeting link of that contact owner using a workflow, and then you can use that personalized token to dependent on who the contact owner is of that contact. That's a lot of words, I'm so sorry, but let's break it down a little bit. Before you even jump into this, the first thing you're going to want to do is ensure that your calendar is connected to HubSpot. You can do that in your settings. Really, you should be doing that.
Your calendar is connected.
Calendar is connected. You're going to want to make sure you do that in like your first week of HubSpot. Meetings is such a strong tool. If you haven't got your calendar connected, go do it now. Get it done. And you're going to create a meeting link. So you're going to, if you have a bigger team, you're going to need to copy the meeting link of each team member for this. But for now, I'm going to just use my little meeting link here. And what we're going to do, I've basically created a property and I've called it contact owner meeting link. That's what it's called. It's just a single line text. Now, in this workflow, I just have the contact owner is me, Brie. However, you could branch this out. So you could say contact owner is known and then branch it out with the rest of your team. And then you create an action to edit it dependent on the team member. Now, the action you're going to do is basically editing, there we go, editing a record or a property.
Bit of footsies.
Bit of footsies under the table there. Okay, edit record. And then, like I said, we're using the meeting link, dynamic meeting link, I've called it. And you're literally copying and pasting the meeting link of the contact owner. Clicking save. So basically, if a contact has me as their contact owner, they're also going to have a property on there that has my dynamic meeting link. Now, when you do an email, you can put that in as a little personalized token, and Bob's your uncle. Another thing you can do with this is actually create smart content modules on your emails as well and list them out dependent on the contact owner.
That's what we do. We do that, and it obviously has a list of that, and then it will dynamically. So the email signature essentially kind of dynamically swaps out.
Exactly.
Kind of
so
gets
you could
annoying
do,
if you've got new stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one way of doing it. This is probably a lot easier, especially if you're doing those more what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like organic looking nurture emails or something like that, that you want to just look like a normal email. And people aren't stupid. They know it's an automated email, but it just makes it seem a bit more chill.
Here's another cool one. And I think I've actually done this in our account as well, but it's to be able to find the company's social media accounts instantly and populate it inside HubSpot.
I love this one so much. I did it for a previous customer because a part of their sales process was to go and follow the company's or their customer's Instagram account, and they'd have to go on and do the whole thing. And basically what this does is fill in a property, so you can just click it and go to their Instagram or Google it or whatever straight away. It's so much fun. You will need OpsHub for this because we are formatting data again, so just keep that in mind. But it's absolutely worth it. So much fun. So this workflow is based on the company's name, so you'll want to make sure that you're using companies correctly in HubSpot. HubSpot will automatically create a company if you have that setting on anyway. But
it won't enrich the data.
So just make sure you have that turned on in your settings. Now, the first thing we're going to do in here, you can see we're actually formatting the company name. And what we're formatting to is basically we're encoding it so it can be put into a URL. So usually if you see a URL, you'll notice in between words and stuff, there'll be pluses or there'll be a little percentage sign or something. So all this is doing is getting that company name ready to be put into a URL. The output type you want is string, and when you click save, it will basically ask if you want to put this string of text into a separate property. You want to say yes. And so I've created a property called URL encoded company name just so we can save that somewhere if we ever need to reuse it. And the value you're putting in there is the string from the previous one. Now, the final piece we're doing is basically adding that encoded company name onto the end of a Google search. That's what we're doing here. You could also do this, for example, LinkedIn, the search, if you're searching for something, it'll have a very specific URL. So you could put it on the end of a LinkedIn search, for example. You could put it at the end of a Facebook search, Instagram, whatever. Best way to do that is just pretend you're searching for something and kind of find that beginning of the URL. That's what you need. So, like I said, for this one, we're editing the social media search link. The value we're doing, I've just put in a blank kind of Google search in here that's searching for the word social media. And then at the end of it, it's going to search for the company name. So what you've done is you now have a property you can just click and it's going to take you to a Google search of that company's social media.
Straight up without having to type
do
anything in.
Yeah, that setup sounds a bit complicated, but once it is set up, you're just clicking it and you're going through and you're done.
Kind of will help with LinkedIn too, because the string in the URL would kind of be similar as well.
Exactly.
So you
have a play with it, yeah. So
Yeah.
all you're doing is adding the encoded company name onto the end of any URL that you could think of. Yeah.
Yeah, nice one. I know we're probably, I don't know where we're at with time, but we'll sort of shoot a couple around in regards to visual pipeline pipeline representations on object cards using emojis.
Yeah, beautiful. I have this pretty much set up ready to go. So we can, all this is, we kind of talked about this already, the importance of emojis, not just from a fun sense, but a psychological sense where you can quickly visualize changes in your deals, in your marketing, whatever it is. And there is another hack on our website that talks about using emojis for visual trends as well. So for example, if, I can't remember what I used, but like if they haven't been engaged for a little while, it'll say this is trending up, this is trending down, things like that. So definitely have a look at that. Jaden set this one up, the legend he is. And this one's all about deal health. So basically we've set up a property called deal health and it's labeled with a green, a yellow and a red. This is kind of also another way to do deal tags, but it's just a different, I'd say it's a bit more dynamic. You have a bit more control over the changing of it. So we've got green, yellow, or red. Now, one thing you want to do after that is basically set up a workflow and define what does green mean to you, what does red mean to you, what does yellow mean to you. So you would enroll, let's say, all your deals in there, and it would go through each time something changes. So let's say maybe the deal amount changes from X to, it's gone upwards. Or maybe they haven't been in touch with you for a little while, that might go downwards. So you do need to do a bit of thinking here about what criteria you want in terms of the emojis. And then from there, now this is always a little funny one to actually find where to put in additional properties on the card, because when you're on your deal page here, you can edit the cards, but that doesn't give you the option to add properties. So if you're looking for this, it's actually in your settings. I like to go through the deals here, and then I go into edit stages so I can get to the settings a bit faster. That's just me though. And then record customization. Where am I? No, sorry, we're going back. It's not record customization. It's customize board and card view. We got there.
Sorry, I was having a sleep.
We got there. And the properties here, this is where you're going to add your emoji one in. So we've got the deal health one in here already. So when you're on the deal board now, you've got your property that's showing red, yellow, green. You've got your workflow going, telling HubSpot when to change it to red, yellow, green. And now you've also got it on your deal card as well. So that's a kind of, it makes me think of a dynamic version of a deal tag.
Deal tag. Awesome. Very helpful for those like sales ops people too.
Definitely.
The call outcomes inside HubSpot, so settings, calling, and call setup as well.
Yes. I don't think call outcomes are used enough.
No.
And I don't know why. And it really frustrates me sometimes.
Well, they've started to bring in the Google Calendar integration that you can kind of set the outcome without having to do it. Also, I believe a picked up call is connected set automatically.
Okay, yep. So when
I'd like to see a little bit more integration with AirCall and stuff to be able to be like if voicemailed or if like no answer, it kind of would auto set the outcomes.
Yes.
But anyway, that's just for those listening out there.
When we're talking about call outcomes, what we're basically talking about is when you log a call into HubSpot, you have the option to say things like you've left a voicemail, you've been connected, blah, 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 blah. People don't use this enough, and it is fantastic data that you can break down if you're a sales team, even if you're a one person, because you could be like, okay, this company I'm constantly leaving voicemails for. Why is that? I need to look into that. Why isn't this sales rep here? Why are they always leaving messages and not actually getting through to them? So a lot of data you can use. Okay, so to get to your call outcomes, you're going to go into general, you're going to go into your calls, and you're going to find your account call settings. You're going to go into call configurations and then track call outcomes. And this is where you can edit all your little outcomes. They've given you, honestly, in my opinion, some pretty good ones. If you wanted to maybe add one like booked a meeting and make it a bit more specific, you could do that. But in my opinion, you need the basics. So definitely start using those. Now, when you're in, let's say, a call with someone, you might have things set up already tracking that. If you're calling from HubSpot, you might have things already tracking that. However, you can just log a call and then say, I left a voicemail, I did this, I did that. So you can do this in a manual sense as well. There's no real, this sounds mean, no real excuse not to be logging your calls and not to be logging that type of information, because it is really good data. Now, there is a hack actually technically underneath this, which is connecting and integrating AirCall into your HubSpot as well and mapping that data so that when you do finish up a call, you can do it on AirCall. I believe you can say what happened and then it'll tell HubSpot as well. So then it's just a little bit more automated as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You can also do tags and stuff like that in there.
Tags, yeah.
Like type of
and then
call.
you can automate things off those tags.
I think that brings us to the... Yep, that brings us to... That does... Hang on.
Does it?
No. Create specific dashboards for each of your customers. That's the 12th one.
This is a really quick one.
Yep.
Like super quick one. All you're doing here is I have a couple of recommended ones on the HubSpot Hacks. Once again, if you go onto our HubSpot Hacks, there's a list of recommended ones, but this is specifically for if you have multiple clients that you create dashboards for or you create reports for. So maybe you get leads for these people and they want to see how many leads they're getting each month, things like that. You can create one single dashboard to use for all your customers. So you're giving them the same reports, but all we're really doing is just narrowing it down a bit with the use of quick filters. Quick filters is something that's not talked enough either.
Yeah.
I love quick filters so much. All it does is add this little filter up the top here. You can choose what that filter is. You can now even make it even more advanced. So it's not just dates or a single property. You can now say it's this, this, and this. Filter it by all three of those things. So you can really quickly filter it down. We've used company name for this one. So if I'm looking at this, and I'm like, okay, I just want to see the data for this specific company that I'm in charge of, I can go to my quick company name. I can contains any of and type the company name in there. Then all of a sudden my dashboard is filtered for that correct person or that correct company, just showing their data. And then from there you can share it. You can email the dashboard with that view super quickly to your customers. It makes things so much easier. It removes that process of maybe doing like maybe data box if you're unable to afford that, or Google Look or something like that. So it's just a faster way of doing it in HubSpot.
Good. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
Without having to create multiple dashboards.
Exactly.
That's the 12, and I know we're short with time here at the moment, but
Go team.
there is a little bonus hack I think I found a number of years ago, and I still kind of think it's called Handwritten. And I think there is still an element, I don't know whether, again, I'm being a bit of an old dog, but there's something special about having a handwritten letter sent to you at any engagement. Handwritten actually works as being able to send a written letter by a robot. There's probably a video of it doing it on the screen at the moment. But it can bring in the tokens and obviously the property values into that letter. So you can write the letter, but you can obviously dynamically swap out some of the words based on the certain types as well. The workflow would go through, it would go and submit that, including all the relevant address details that would be collected on the actual record itself, whether it be property or company, whether it be contact or company. And it would go ahead and, as you can see on the screen right now, the computer or the robot would go ahead and literally handwrite the message that was in the workflow and change out, obviously, and then literally put it into an envelope and send it off to your customer or whoever it might be. There are a couple of different models in regards to advanced paying or subscription models, but the one thing I will say is that sending, for those in Australia, for those that are sending to Australia, the fee is about $1.50, but it's about $3, let's just say $5
Okay.
USD.
Okay.
Per send. So, I think if it's something that you kind of want to automate, but also get to a point that's got a bit of a human touch, weirdly enough, it's a great sort of tool, I think, to go through and actually handwrite literal letters to people and send it to them via the post. And I think it's really about trying to stand out from the pack at the moment, because I think a lot of people can go ahead and send an email saying, welcome to the team. It's like,
anyone
cool,
can do
everyone
that.
got that.
Yep.
But it's about sort of standing out from the rest.
For
I think
sure.
it's a really good tool as well.
I think it's so cute.
Yeah.
I think it's so cute.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So good. So yeah, Handwritten is a integration that you can integrate into HubSpot and use it within a workflow. So you can basically go and have it as a step. Thanks for coming in today. Again, we kind of went over a little bit, but all of the necessary details about the hacks are in the description. Also, the chapters are just there if you haven't noticed them already. But just a reminder, if you are in the sales ops teams and you are looking to master your prospecting skills inside HubSpot, we've hopefully got an hour or a hair and a bit of Jordy and I really talking through that on June the 19th at 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Again, my recommendation, sign up anywhere that is anywhere on the screen to go ahead and sign up for it. And then if you can't make it, we'll send you through the recording.
Beauty.
Awesome. Thanks, Breeza.
Thanks, mate.
No worries. Hopefully we've helped you guys out with some of the hacks. Keen to hear if you guys have got some hacks of your own as well, whether they're ethical or not within HubSpot. We'd love to hear from them in the comments as well. But thanks again for showing us all that sort of stuff, Brie. And we'll I'll see you soon.
Yeah, I'll see you soon. I'll
Awesome.
see you in like 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
Happy HubSpotting. Catch you later, guys.